Okay, so the second part actually we stopped from here. Basically, like we just initialized some of the configurations for pistol joke like this, and we set up event dispatcher that is being called at the locomotion system, and an event listener that is being triggered at here at the initialization. And the event to be triggered is actually this onset anim override. So currently actually it's being triggered properly and it's instantiating this specific variable, but it still doesn't have the capability to extract the data out of this data table, right? So today let's see how we can do that. Okay, so inside ABP locomotion, at the set animation data, based on the moment type, we are getting this moment struct, which is fine. And we initialize this stuff. Right. So I'll add a new input pin here. And after the configs, maybe we can initialize our overrides. Right. So how we can do that? Okay, so this one is under the category default. Here, the local variable. So let's get the local variable. And then let's break it. And we are simply interested in this anim overrides. So let's find the value based on this ls anim override key. And let's say if we found it, then we can simply return that specific data structure. But in case if we haven't find it, we should actually return the default override state. So I'll give it a statically typed key called default. Right. And then once we get it, we can create a new local variable. I'll name it as L anim override struct, and then we can use it. But instead of doing those stuff at here, maybe we can do it here. So here I'll just organize some of these pins. So we are getting the general struct. And here you are getting the moment struct. And then we can get this anim override struct. Something like this. Oh, actually we are getting the config here as well. But that's fine. Right. So now we have the reference for a anim override struct. And then then mm, then let's extract the start forward facing out of this. So I'll break it and I'll populate this variable as a global variable, and I'll call it as anim override underscore start forward face. We can move this to category called yeah, we have anim sequences. Here we have the start forward facing, but I'll create a new category called maybe anim overrides. It should be much more convenient. So currently actually it has only these start forward facing animations for overrides, but later on actually with the requirement we can add many overrides for each and every individual state that is specified here. Right. Okay. Yeah, so I'll connect this pin here and I'll collapse these nodes and call it as what? Maybe anim overrides. Sorry, small typo. Anim overrides. Organize the pins a little bit. Okay. Now we have an actual reference for our anim override data at our dt anim set data table. So just for testing, I'll break this thing and let's maybe print one of its anim sequences. Maybe let's break start forward facing L90. So ideally if it is working properly, it should print what? It should print this one, pistol jog forward start, because that's the anim sequence there. Compile and save. Let's play. It is not printed. Does it print this hello string? Oh yeah, it's been printed, which means this one is calling properly. Let's see what's the anim override we have. Yes, it's the default state. But why it's being called that? Okay, that's fine. Okay, I think I know the issue, because since we have multiple different override groups or movement groups, it doesn't aware of what movement group what we currently are in. Yes, that's the issue, because inside the jog we have these anim overrides, which is fine, but if you check the walk state, it doesn't have any anim overrides, neither of this crouch state. So let's take what sort of a movement type we are in. Okay, we are the joke, which is correct actually. Mm, so it should print this anim sequence name. Maybe let's add small delay at here. Maybe like 2 seconds. 1, 2. No. Let me debug and see why. Right. So I found this actually. Uh, First of all, actually, it's not an issue. I just tested the wrong anim set, right? Because here you can see like we are testing the pistol state, start forward facing overrides. But if I just play test it like this, it is using the unarmed state, right? So it doesn't aware of my anim overrides. That's the issue, right? So just to play test, what we can do is, so I just added this print statement here as well, just to print like whether we found a valid animation overrides or not. To check actually whether we found a valid anim override or not. Uh, so as a hack, what we can do is we can go to our player blueprint, and inside the weapon system, let's add a pistol, and let's use that weapon. So default slot should be 1 because that's the index of the pistol. If I play test this now, uh, yeah, actually it's not working properly. Yeah, now you can see actually when I equip the weapon, it's printing true, right? Which is correct because okay. First of all, let's go to the locomotion system, and I think I added a delay here. So let's get rid of this delay, and here now if I play it, nothing is there. But if I equip the rifle, okay, I think let's make the default weapon slot as 0, and let's equip the rifle. Okay, now it's printing true. If I unequip, it prints false. If I equip, it prints true, which means it finds the proper animations override struct at here. That's why it's printing true. So let's get rid of this print statement, and let's go to our anim overrides, and let's add a print string here to print the anim sequence display name. And if I play test now, nothing will be visible, nothing printed on the display, which is expected. But if I switch to pistol, you can see pistol jog forward start is being printed, which is the anim sequence that we need to override. Okay, which means actually it works properly, right? So the required anim overrides for start forward facing is being extracted properly from this data table now, right? And I think I don't need these debug print strings anymore, so let's get rid of it. Right, and compile and save all. Right. Yeah, so I think this is a good place to stop the part 3 because at the next part actually we can set up sort of an graph to actually override these anim start forward facing stuff at the anim graph level itself. Right, so if I quickly recap what we have been done, I just initialized, or I just set up the way to extract the required anim override from this data table, right? So in this data table we have multiple different overrides that mapped with the key and required values. So inside our ABP locomotion, inside the set animation data function, I just added a logic to extract the data or extract the anim overrides based on the existing moment or existing anim moment. So if we have a valid anim override, then it will take that anim override. Otherwise, it will take the default anim override and set it up here. And then I added this collapse node graph, and it simply break the existing data structure for anim overrides and store this anim override start forward facing as a global variable by referring that reference at here, right? And then we simply checked its anim sequences just for the debugging purposes to see whether it's properly initializing or not, right? Plus, just for the testing purposes, keep in mind that we just added this anim override or set anim override setter function here, but later on actually we can maybe get rid of this function and we can move this stuff at the other required actor instances level instead, right? But for now, just for the testing purposes, I just added this one at here, right? That's how we can extract the data out of this data table based on the specific anim override key name, right? So in the next part, let's see how we can actually implement this stuff at the anim graph level. I'll see you there. Thank you.